right, welcome everyone. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. If you have any questions, just note there's a Q&A tab at the bottom. You can also use the chat. I just put my contact information down in the chat, so stay in touch.
And let me just confirm that we are good on Facebook here. It's always a
little delay for that.
Yeah.
I've done so many Zooms lately.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky to have it though.
Yeah, and it looks like we are broadcasting. So
all right,
go ahead and kick it off. Thank you all so much for joining us on your Friday afternoon. I don't know about where you are, but it's actually sunny and bright here in the Twin Cities of Minnesota, which we don't get a lot of sunshine during the winter months. So I'm grateful. We're grateful to have Anthony Vulin with us this afternoon. Anthony is our Los Angeles chapter president for the Alliance. He's also fairly highly credentialed in his market with the local association, and he also owns the Collective Realty, his brokerage out in LA. Anthony puts this seminar on normally once a year, and he has volunteered to do this for our members and folks that are engaged with us on social media, so we are extremely grateful. Hopefully you take the time over the next hour and a half, 2 hours, to really pay attention, hone in, see what skills you can pick up from Anthony as far as your business and how it pertains to what you want to do with your year. There will be a portion at the end for questions, and certainly we encourage you to interact and use your nonverbal interactions through raising your hand or smileys. In the panel, if you're on Facebook Live, I will also be watching the comments there. But with that, I would like to introduce Anthony and allow you to take it away.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. I'm excited to be here. It is going to be a great year for us in real estate this year. I mean, believe it or not, 2020 ended up way stronger than anybody thought. You know, if you asked me in March, would prices have gone up? Would the volume have been consistent by the end of the year? I would have said no way. So we actually ended up 2020 pretty strong, and 2021 we expect to be even stronger. Interest rates are just amazing, and we're all really set to have a great year. So it's all up to us. It's all up to you on how you want your 2021 to be. The market is there for us. The opportunity is there. So let's absolutely go for that. A lot of people are saying, you know, by 2022, there might be a little slowdown or shift or a price change and so on. So we'll see what happens by the end of this year. But this year right now is going to be an amazing time for us as realtors to really help as many people as we can build wealth through real estate. So my name is Anthony Vulin. I am the owner of the Collective in Los Angeles. I'm the chapter president of the Real Estate Alliance. Very involved in my local associations. I'm president-elect of Greater LA Association of Realtors, and I'm a director for California Association of Realtors. Been in the business for about 20 years, and my passion now as a broker owner is just helping realtors build wealth and figure out how they can help their clients build wealth in return. So my contact info is in the chat, so feel free to do that. I'm at Anthony Vulin on Twitter, or Italian Croatian, or personal account on Instagram. You're welcome to follow me and stay in touch there. So let's get started. I would love for you guys to interact as much as possible. I know it's a webinar, so it's sometimes a little bit more difficult to do, but it's still definitely possible. And please, you know, raise your hand, ask questions in the chat. Ryan's going to be monitoring it to see what's going on since I have my screen share on. You know, this is a business planning class, right? So there's a lot of numbers that we're going to be talking about. It's pretty dense with information. So feel free to contact me after. I'm happy to reach out to you and, you know, spend 10 or 15 minutes just looking at your numbers exactly, because understanding your numbers is the most important part of this class, in my opinion. So creating your 2021 business plan, let's get started. 2020 was a crazy year, right? 2021, it's going to be an interesting year, but we definitely have a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm looking out of my office window right here, and there's a line of people right in front of my office waiting to get the vaccine. And that is just going to be more and more people every day will be getting vaccinated. Numbers will be going down. There'll be more hope. There'll be more excitement. And I really think that, you know, the the 20s are going to be the new roaring 20s for us. We're going to have a lot of excitement, a lot of innovation, a lot of great things happening. So, take a minute to reflect and think about how your year ended up for you last year. Our office here happened to have the best year ever in history, and many of our agents had their best year. I've been doing a lot of calls with the Alliance with agents from around the country, and I'm hearing the same thing from many agents that it ended up being one of their best years. They were busier than they ever were. I think part of the reason is because some agents just checked out and decided that, the pandemic was an excuse for them to, not continue pursuing their business as they normally would. And other agents were like, hey, I'm taking this as to my advantage, and I'm going to be working and figuring out what to do to build relationships, and deals were happening, and they had great years. So, no matter what your year looked like for you last year, this is an opportunity now to get in that mindset of making this your best year yet. And this truly, because the market's set up for it, can be your best year yet. At this point in your business, you've been in the business longer than you were a year ago or 2 years ago, so you know more, you have more experiences. It should be your best year yet. And I'm really hoping that it's going to be for you. So business plan, this is, I've been a manager and in the business for about 20 years. The first few years of the business, I had a team, and within 4 or 5 years, I was the number 2 team in the Hollywood Hills and was asked to manage offices. So since then, the last 15 years, really, I've been managing offices and working with agents and coaching them and helping them create wealth. And everything that we're going to talk about in this class are the little tweaks that you can add to your business that are really going to help take it to the next level. Most agents do not have a real business plan. I ask agents, I'm like, create a business plan and let's talk about it and look at it. And when I see what they have, they don't have measurable, very specific, achievable, relevant, time-based goals like I'm listing here. So we need to make sure that you have very, very specific goals, right? It's important to be able to see what the big picture is, for your year coming up, to have these specific goals, to have a roadmap, right? That's what people think a business plan is. And absolutely, it has to have a roadmap for you. Like, what are you going to be doing and when in order to achieve the goals that you have? There needs to be accountability, right, as part of the business plan. And we'll talk about that at the end of the seminar. And you need to estimate about how much money you're bringing in, and we want you to review and all the successes and challenges that you've had over the last year. So I'm sure we all have our own other reasons as well, as why we want to build a business plan and why you're here today. If you can, throw them into the chat, any ideas that you have of why you're here today, and maybe Ryan could read a few of those off, because I'm just like to know my audience and know where you guys are at, and I want to make sure I cover everything that you're expecting today, plus more. So why are you here today? Put that in the chat, and Ryan can interrupt anytime and read a couple of those off.
Sure, and we have a lot of hellos coming in. We've got hello from Cleveland. We've got hello from Houston.
Hello.
Hi from Vegas.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anthony, thank you for hosting this. Jenny in Wisconsin says she's excited to learn.
Hey, Jenny. So I'm going to stop my screen share just for a second, and we're going to talk about what your why is. So this really is the most important part of being successful. This is the one secret that I've learned over the 20 years I've been in business. The most successful people in our industry and in any industry have the strongest why, the strongest drive behind them. Why are you doing this? What is it that you need in your business to happen for you to be satisfied this year? And selling 10 homes is not what I'm talking about, right? Like, that's great. You sold 10 homes, you sold 100 homes. It's not going to be something that truly fulfills your soul and satisfies you. So I'm talking about, if you sold those 10 homes or 100 homes, how would that change your life? What would you be able to do with that? Business that we're in is an opportunity for us to build wealth. And that wealth is an opportunity for us to live the life that we ideally want to live. So, sometimes we're taught, some of us, that money is not good, and you shouldn't focus just on money, and the goal should not be focused on money. Well, it's true, it's not about the money, but sometimes we need that money for us to achieve the higher level things in life that we would like to do as well. So, at the end of 2021, what would that look like for you? If you really had a successful year, what would you be able to do? And, we talk about vision boards, right? They're awesome to do. They're powerful. I do them in my office. I did one myself this year, and they should be something that's simple, and something have goals on it that are not too far out, right? Like, a lot of people have vision boards of like these big houses they want down the road, and cars and all this fancy stuff and whatever, right? But the vision boards that work the best are the ones that are, short-term goals. So things that you want to happen in the next 3 months, things that you want to happen in the next year, and then maybe one or two things that are long-term goals. But you need to have several things that are short-term that create that sense of urgency to get to. So the vision board needs to be simple, but that's part of your why. And one thing I've learned in coaching agents over all these years is the ones who get emotionally, who express themselves emotionally or feel emotion when they look at their vision board or when they talk about it to me or to other people, those are the ones who are the most successful. That's what it takes. So if I was to ask you today, show me and share your vision board, and your heartbeat doesn't beat a little bit faster, or you don't start breathing a little deeper, or have a tear in your eye, you need to take time out to think about what it is that you really want to be happy next year and what it is that you really deserve. There has to be that emotional connection to your vision board and to what your why is. And unless you have that, there's no sense of creating goals, because our minds are wired for us to stay very stagnant and stay at the level that we're at, because that's comfort. So if you want to make any more money or do anything different, you have to have a sense of being able to go through a very uncomfortable stage. And that vision board is going to help us to push through those uncomfortable times, right? Like, we've heard all this a million times. But one thing that I would encourage you to do this year is create that vision board if you haven't, and make sure that you're only putting things on there that you're emotionally attached to, that you would feel just really awful if you weren't able to do them. Some things on there are aspirational, but they also should be things that would really disappoint you if you weren't able to do. So an example, right, of something might be getting rid of debt, and maybe you have back taxes. As a manager, once in a while, I get a notice from the IRS saying, hold this agent's money because they haven't paid their taxes for a couple of years. If you're in a situation where you owe money for credit cards or taxes or something like that, I think that's something that should stir emotion in you to get that taken care of. Create that emotion towards that item, towards paying off that debt, to help you get there. Don't just brush it off and be scared of it. Deal with it. Look at that notice every day. Do things every day that you see it, that create and stir that emotion. It's just so important to have that emotional connection to whatever it is that your goals are for this year. So debt is one thing. Like, to me, that's a baseline. If you have any debt, you got to work on getting that off. Whether you're a realtor or whether you're a realtor talking to your clients, debt is always something that we should be focusing on, trying to limit that and pay that off as much as we can. And then, of course, right, it's like I always tell every agent, create some type of vacation or getaway or fun experiences for you, and do that and schedule that at the beginning of the year right away before you get busy. And hey, like I said, this is a COVID changing year, I think, where we're going to be hopefully getting back to normal at some point. The Lions has a amazing conference that's coming up. I don't know if y'all have heard, but in Vegas in September. Maybe you're the first to know here. Well, that could be an amazing vacation and trip, and something you look forward to networking with other agents and staying there for a few days and having fun and bringing your partner or family or whatever, and making a trip out of it. But you need to do something. You need to travel. You need to experience joy and do something, right? So that's part of your why as well. So I see, Jenny. I need to get out of debt. Yes, honey, you need to get out of debt. You can make that happen. And if you're in the real estate business, this is the one of the few businesses left that income is really limitless and it's up to you. And you don't have to recreate the wheel. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the most creative. You just have to focus on simple things. And we'll talk about some of those things. So, yeah, setting up your own shop as a brokerage, I see someone is saying, amazing. I did that as well. I was a manager for big company for many years, and I started the collective 7 years ago and been doing it and have about 50 agents, and it's been the best thing I've ever been able to do. So, you know, what are your whys? What are your goals? I'm going to go back to my screen share here. We have someone from Amsterdam. Amazing. Welcome, welcome.
Okay. We also have someone joining us from the UK.
Okay. All right, UK, I love that. So your why needs to be something that stirs emotion. That is the first thing and the most important thing. Before you start working out your numbers or doing anything else, and you don't have this vision board or you don't know what your why is yet, it's okay, it takes time. You might need to just take 2-3 days off to honestly just think and only focus on this. And for me, I'm a big D personality. You know, if you know the DISC test, I'm very impatient. So it's hard for me to take time off to plan because I feel like time is so precious and it's wasting time that I could be doing something else. But planning and thinking is going to end up saving you time in the long run and making your goals so much stronger. So, you know, take a day or 2 or 3 or whatever it takes. It doesn't matter how long, but figure out what that is for you and get that into something visual that you could see every day. Put it on your phone, put it on your computer as a screensaver, but see an image of what it is that you're striving for this year. Okay, come on. So now we're going to get into the number section, right? Because you got to start with the economic model, knowing your numbers, and then we'll get into lead generation and how to make sure you're getting enough leads and all that kind of great stuff and accountability, and that will happen later. But let's first start with the numbers. This is going to get a little bit dense, but it's so important. So please ask questions if you have them. And again, you can reach out to me if you have any issues or questions later. But what we're trying to figure out is how much money, first of all, how much money do you need every month to just survive? You have to know what that dollar amount is, okay? Keep in mind, you know, it's not just your electric bill every month, your cable bill every month, your car insurance every month. A lot of the expenses we have are paid twice a year or once a year. Like I just got a bill from California DMV for $750 for my car registration. That's an expense, and that only happens once a year. But these expenses that don't happen monthly, you need to break them down to understand what your monthly expenses are, right? Even though you're not paying it every month, every business understands what it is per month that it's costing them to run their business, to survive, to run your life, right? So we need to know what your expenses are to just basically survive. Write those down, really think about them, go through your credit cards, think about your food, your gas, any kind of fun stuff that you're doing. And then of course, what are those expenses that you have that are not coming up every year, every month, but maybe once a year, twice a year, or just random things, you know? So knowing that number to start, I realized when I was coaching agents that almost no one knew this. I would ask them, like, what's your monthly net? How much does it cost you to survive every month? Oh, about. And I'm like, are you sure? Okay, I want you to write down every single expense and every yearly expense and so on, and let's break it down per month and see what that number is. And it was never what they thought. It was usually a little bit more. Some people were really off, and it's something that you need to know. So I think all of us could get better on understanding what those expenses are. A really great tracking tool, you know, for business and personal expenses is QuickBooks. It's so easy. It syncs up with your bank account, with your credit cards, easy to label everything. Your accountants will love you for it. It'll save you money at the end of the year if you learn how to use a system like that. But QuickBooks is worth every dollar. It's not too expensive, and that's a great way to do that. So QuickBooks would be great. But again, remember, we're thinking right now mostly all of our personal expenses. What does it cost us just to survive? So now that you know that number, think back to what's on your vision board. So maybe, you know, your mom is getting older and she's never been to Italy and she's always talked about it. And you're like, I want to take her there for Christmas this year. I want to go there at the end of the year. I want to, you know, have her be able to experience a trip she's never done, and this is so important to me, and I don't know how many more years I'll have to be able to do that. This is something that's part of my why, and that's going to cost something, right? So once you figure out your monthly expenses, you also need to add in what are the expenses associated with your why. You know, maybe you lost a family member to cancer and you're passionate about donating, you know, at least $10,000 a year to a specific charity. And that's part of your why. Well, that's the dollar amount that you can add, right? So we need to find out now what your total number is, divided, you know, by 12, your total yearly number divided by 12. We want to know what that monthly number is, because that's going to give you motivation each month. But what is your yearly expenses, and what will it cost you this year if you were to achieve all the things you wanted with your why? What are the numbers associated with that? Now, that is going to be our net. Okay. So once you have that number, that is your net. So I mean, for a lot of people in Los Angeles, kind of just to survive and pay your rent and all these other things, you know, maybe it's around $10,000 a month after you add up everything. So, you know, it's $120,000 a year. And, you know, the goals that you have this year, you want to pay $40,000 in debt, you want to take a trip and something else or whatever, and it's another 80,000. So a number that I'm going to be using today for net is 200,000 as an example. I've kind of found that this is like an average number that a lot of people were using and work. So we're going to use that as the net. You're going to be using your own numbers. And it has to be very specific to you. It's not an aspirational number. It's a number that you really, really must get. Otherwise, you're not going to pay your bills and you're going to be really upset at the end of the year because you're not going to be able to achieve some of those things that are on your why. You know, we're in business again to make money so we can use that money and wealth to live the life that we all deserve. So what is that life that you're wanting to deserve to deserve for 2021, and what is that going to cost you? Okay, so once you have that net, that yearly net, now what do you really need to make this year? It's not 200,000, right? We all hopefully know that. There's a lot of things we need to take into play, and it's not that simple to figure out, and we're gonna figure it out, but let's figure it out. So a couple of things that we need to consider are the cost of sale in our business of real estate. Everybody has some type of cost of sale. Every time you sell a property, it costs you something, right? So there's a couple models, common models out there for real estate companies. You know, averages here, I don't know if you see my cursor, but the 30% of gross. So that's your split, you know, to your office. You know, what are you paying to your office? A lot of people, kind of the standard in the country is 70% that you keep, 30% goes to the office. So cost of sale would be 30% in that case. If you have a higher split, great, then your cost of sale might be 20% or whatever that is. There's also companies like my company, Keller Williams, EXP, they have a cap, and the caps range from 15,000 to 45,000, you know, across the country, depending on the company and city that you're in. So if you have a cap, that's your cost of sale. You know, you max out at a certain dollar amount. So average for the country is 30,000. So I'm going to be using 30,000 as a cap. So which model are you? Are you the split or are you the cap? And we're going to figure out your numbers based off of that. Did I skip one? No. Okay. So expenses for business, right? That's another cost of sale that we have to take into consideration. Besides your cap and your split to your company, there are business expenses. So the average percentage that it's really going to cost you to have a successful business is about, you're going to be spending about 30% of whatever your gross number is each year on business expenses. Okay, these are also numbers that you really should be tracking. They obviously need to be in your QuickBooks, so you get deductions for that. You should absolutely have a separate credit card that you only put business expenses on to make it really easy for you. I mean, in our business, almost everything we do is a business expense. So make sure you're tracking that and just get a separate business card and put it all on there so you can make it real easy. But things to think about, right? Lead generation. What are you spending on that? On prospecting and your marketing, on advertising listings. Now, across the country, the top agents, who are most successful, the average that they're spending on marketing, on advertising their listings, on marketing, on trying to get new clients, is about 10% of your gross. So every time you close a check, have a separate bank account that's open that you can put in 10% of whatever that gross is that you would have made on that commission into a separate account, and that's your marketing account. And you can only spend money that's in that marketing account. So if you haven't closed any deals yet or done anything yet, then you need to figure out how to lead generate without spending money or spending very little money. And we all know that there's a million ways to do that, talking to people and so on, and webinars and things through Zoom and connecting with databases and all those things we'll talk about are free pretty much, right? So if you don't have any closed listings yet, don't spend too much money. Don't give your money to Zillow or any of these crazy companies that just, take advantage of new agents and agents who are desperate to make money. Don't do that yet. Wait till you close money, then start putting 10% of the gross commission into an account and use that for your marketing budget. Don't spend too much more than that, and make sure you're spending 10%. Some agents, they're not spending enough money in marketing. So where do you fall? Are you spending too much in marketing? Are you spending not enough? Do you have no idea? Well, write it down. That's another thing to find out. How much are you spending in marketing this year? How much should you be spending? What did you make last year? And take that gross from last year, and you can use that number for this year. 10% of your gross of last year can be spent for marketing. Education absolutely needs to be part of your expenses for every year. You should be attending different seminars. Coaches are amazing, but definitely education needs to be part of your expenses for the real estate business. Maybe you have office expenses like rent or supplies or copies. Depending on what company you're with and working at home, there's going to be certain supplies. Maybe you had to buy another computer this year or a printer or whatever. Office expenses, auto, we can deduct a lot of our auto expenses. That's going to fall into that 30%. Different insurances, E&O insurance, what is your company charging you for E&O insurance? Is it per deal, per month, per year? But that's an expense that's part of that a lot of times we forget about. Your association dues, your MLS dues, if you're joining a chamber of commerce, all of these subscriptions that we have to become members of groups that we network with, all of that types of stuff counts towards your expenses. Joining the Alliance or any other groups, all of that's part of that. Technology, are you paying for your website, for website marketing, your cell phone, CRMs, DocuSign? It just goes on and on, right? So these are kind of just a few examples just to get your mind thinking, but these all need to be tracked. They're all deductible. They all need to be tracked. And keep in mind, it's going to be about 30% of your gross. So that's something that you guys need to start looking at. Okay, here, oh God, this slides, they look a little crazy, right? A lot of numbers. I love numbers. I'm a big numbers person. So for me, I love it, but I understand that a lot of us don't. So we're going to go slow and just take it step by step. So we have our net. The net that we said was 200,000, right? This is the amount of money that we need to pay our bills, to go to Italy, to pay off some debt. We need $200,000. Now, we need to find out, what is it that we really need? What is our gross? How much money do we really need to make this year in order to be able to keep 200,000? So we need to keep in mind the two things that we just talked about: the cost of sale, which is your cap or your split, and your expenses. So pretty simple, right? Just adding these expenses into whatever our net was, and then we're going to find out what it cost us. what we really need to make. So I have two examples here. The first one is if you're with a capping model and you have a cap, then we have 200,000 is your net, right? Equals 70% of what? So 70% I'm getting is because that's the expenses. It's basically you're subtracting that 30%. So if we want to find out what 30% is, how much we're adding on in expenses, you can do 200,000 divided by 0.7 or 70%, and you're going to get 285,000. So that is the amount of money that we're spending for expenses, our net that we're adding on. Now we have our cap of 30,000. You know, maybe yours is more or less, and you're adding that on. And now you have your total net, 315,000. Okay, does that make sense? If you're with the traditional model, you're going to do, basically, you need to figure out what this 40% is here. So this 40% that I'm going to be using as a multiplier is your 30% expenses plus whatever your split is. Okay, so if our expenses, we're just going to default and say they're 30%. If you're on a 70-30 split with your company, you're paying 30%, right? So we take 100, you're taking the total amount minus your expenses and minus your split. That's going to give us the 40% number. That's the number that you keep. So what are you keeping out of your 100%, out of that 100% gross? You're keeping 40% because we're giving away 30% split and we're giving away 30% in expenses. If you're on an 80-20 split, then it's going to be your split's 20%, right? Your expenses are 30%, so 50. So our number here is going to be 50%. Okay, so we're using 30%. That's pretty average. And how to figure that out? We're getting this 40% number here, like we just explained. So 200,000 divided by 0.4 is going to give us 500,000. That is what we need at a traditional model as our gross number to hit our net. So you can see, right, if you're at a capping model, your gross is a lot less than it is at a traditional model, because at some point you're getting 100% or close to 100% of your commission. At a traditional model, you're really not. So your gross is going to be a little higher. You know, there's pluses and minuses of both companies, but you need to know what your numbers are. So figure out those numbers for you. I'm going to give you guys just a second maybe to finish kind of calculating that, or ask a question if you have one. And again, this is recorded, so you'll be able to go back and rewatch this or pause it on a slide or do whatever you need to do to take the time to get your numbers out. But if you can get it done now, good for you. You should be able to figure out that number. Okay. And if anyone has questions, feel free to raise your hand and we can unmute you and you could speak and ask questions anytime. Not a problem. We're here to help. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next slide. Oh, sorry, Uncle Sam. We're not quite done yet. So we do have to pay taxes, right? A lot of what we do is deductible and you're not paying on, but I encourage you to add on this little bit more just to protect yourself and to be safe, to make sure that you always have more than enough money for taxes. The way we figured out our net right above and our gross, most of that is all deductible, right? So the taxes are kind of built into that, but we need to take out a little bit more. So the formula that I found that most people end up paying and what pretty much works is, you know, if we have our net of 200,000 and then we have our cost of sale, right, which is your cap or your split and your expenses, in a capping model, we have the 200,000 plus your 30,000 cap plus the 85,000 we're paying for expenses, right? That's how we got to the 315. We did that in the last slide. Now we're going to add another 10% of your net. So just 10% of your net, it's going to put in here about 20,000 more that we're going to end up paying towards taxes. So we have, we have our, some of you are paying city taxes. Sometimes your offices are paying that for you. You have your state and federal. This is all going to be included for that. As long as you're deducting everything that you possibly can, that you're allowed to deduct, this should be sufficient, and you should be okay with taxes. Traditional model, again, just 10% of your net added on, so 520. Okay, so now these are our final numbers. If you are at a capping model and your net goal is 200,000, you actually need to make 335,000. If you're at a traditional model, you need to make 520,000 in order to net 200,000. Okay. These are real numbers, and a lot of us, we get our commission checks and we're like, oh my gosh, 20,000, 10,000, 5,000. I just made $80,000 this year. No, if you're looking at this traditional model, you're really only keeping 40% of that, right? So if you made 80,000 last year, let me do that calculation for you. 40% of that's 32,000. I mean, come on. That's what you're really keeping, the 32,000. So you got to know these numbers, because that's why we get in trouble. And we're like, why do I have such a big tax bill? It's adding up. How come I can't afford it? It's because you're thinking you're making a lot more money than you really are. And that's a huge problem with realtors. I've had realtors at every level, agents who are selling a few houses a year to agents who are selling, 70 houses a year, having big problems at the end of the year, not being able to pay taxes and not having any money in their account. And they just don't get it. Why? It's because they were tricking themselves into thinking they were making a lot more than they could, and they were spending more money than they should have. So, you got to know these numbers. You got to be financially sound. If this is not a strength of yours, then please talk to somebody who can help you with this, walk you through it. Your broker, your manager, that's their job. They should be helping you with these things. Also, if you also need help, you should be talking to a financial planner and your accountant regularly as well. If you want to have a big business, you got to treat it like one and have a team around you that's really going to help you succeed and, spend the right amount of money and save the right amount of money and so on. If you really want to have a strong business moving forward. Okay, now let's break it down. We're keeping it going. Now we're going to get to the sales part. So how much volume do you need to sell? Like, how many $1 million of homes do you need to sell this year in order to reach that goal of 200,000? I'm using an average commission of 2.75 because I believe if you have a listing, you should be able to get 3%. In LA, most of the listings are 2.5%. My listings that I get for myself, they're almost always 3%. I'm using a 2.5% on your buyer side deals, right? So we get the average of 2.75. So when you have your own listing, 3%. When you're representing a buyer, you might be getting just 2.5%. Now think about your area, your market, what your averages might be, but this percentage is going to be really important. So for this example, we're using 2.75, and I think that's probably a pretty fair number for across the country. By the way, one little tidbit on getting 3% commission on all your listings, so it's 6% split evenly down the middle. When you look through the MLS, you can see that, what agents are charging commission. And I've done a search, in a study throughout the years, looking at listings that were given 2.5% to a buyer's agent and listings that were offering 3%. The listings that were offering 3% sold in shorter amount of days, and they sold for about 4%. They sold for about 4% higher than the listings at 2.5%. Okay, now this is a stat that I tell every single seller because it's true, it's a fact. And it's in different price points and neighborhoods, and it kind of worked everywhere. That listings that were at 3% were selling for 4% higher. So if you're trying to get a seller to go from a 5% commission to a 6% commission, that delta is 1%, right? They're going to be making on average 4% more. So that's a net to your seller. If they're offering you 1% more, they're going to be netting 3% more. So in short, listings, when you offer 3% out, are going to sell quicker and they're going to give the seller a higher price. That is the only script, the only thing that I would ever talk to a seller about, because our goal as a listing agent is to make the seller the most amount of money. You never want to say, oh, I'm 6% listing because I market it better, I'm a better agent, blah, blah, blah. No, they don't care. All they care about is that they're going to net the most amount of money. And it's simple. Just by offering more commission, they will net more money. So that's something that always works for me. A lot of times I say my commission 6%. There's half the time there's no objection. It's just that's what it is. That's my rate. Sometimes I say, well, is it negotiable? Can we lower it? I said, of course, it's negotiable. You know, I'll list it for whatever you want. But let me tell you this, Mr. Seller, if you list it at if we list it at 6% and we offer 3% on both sides, you're going to make more money and it's going to sell faster. It's facts. It's proven. I have the stats to prove it. So that is something I take extremely seriously. Most of my business is from listings. Now, going back into numbers a little bit more, the difference in your income at the end of the year, if you're getting 3% versus 2.5%, what is that delta? What is that percentage? If all your listings are listed at 3% versus 2.5%, how much more money are you making at the end of the year? What percent? It's like, I think it's like 17%. You're going to make 17% more income at the end of the year if your listings are 3% versus 2.5%. That's a huge, huge, huge difference. So it's worth, you know, learning your scripts and figuring out how to make that work, and going for that. So 17% difference. That's amazing. Okay, so getting back to our numbers here at the bottom of the page, traditional model, you know, when we figure out how much you need to sell for the $200,000 net, it's about 18.9 million. If you're at a capping company, it's about 12.2 million. So all we did was take our gross and divided it by 2.75%. So 2.75% is 0.0275 on your calculator. Okay, you're not a good math person. So 2.75% of your gross. And that's how we get these numbers down here. So now we know the volume, okay? Traditional company, we need to sell $19 million worth of homes this year. Now, how does that break down? How many homes? So simple. We're just gonna take the volume and divide it by your average sales price. So we're gonna take that, you know, 18.9 million, and in LA, our average sales price is about 750,000. That's 25 homes sold. So what is your average sales price? Is it 300,000, 500,000? I mean, it's different, right? From all of us. All of you guys are in different markets. And even if, you know, even depending on what market it is, what is your personal average sales price? Are you doing more high-end homes? Are you doing more low-end homes? Like, what is your average? That is something also that you need to start tracking and figuring out every year. So look at your numbers from the last, you know, 2 years, at least last year, and figure out what your average is, and, you know, use that number and see if that makes sense for you, or maybe adjust it a little bit. But you need to start with what your average is. If you don't know, ask your office manager and say, what is our office average? They should know that instantly, what your average sales price is for your office. Okay. So at the traditional model, we're at 25 homes we need to sell. The capping model, we have 16 homes we need to sell. My goal that I always recommend agents is we really want to try to get a little bit more of our business from listings. And so about 60% listings, 40% buyers. If you're a newer agent, it's a little harder to get, it's a little harder to do that. You might have more buyers than listings, but eventually we want to get more listings than buyers. Why? Because when you have a listing, listings will generate more deals and more buyers. So if you can constantly improve your listing percentage and ratio, you're always going to be growing your buyer side. Every listing you have, you really should be getting a buyer from that, you know, for another property, from your marketing somehow. Because you have that listing, you should be picking up another buyer. So if you're getting more listings than buyers, that means your business is always going to be growing. Okay. Leads needed, right? Breaking it down a little more. So let's take the 25 homes that we said we need to sell, and how does that work in towards our listing leads? So out of the total 25 homes we need to sell, if our goal is 60% of those are going to be listing leads, we need to have 15 listings sold this year. Okay, so not too bad, like a little over a listing a month. Now, to get to the appointments, there's a few things we need to take into consideration about what is your percentage. On average for the country, and I think in this market, about 80% of listings are selling, right? Sometimes they don't, sometimes they're expiring, sometimes they take it off the market, blah, blah, blah. 80% is a number I'm comfortable with. You know, you can put in your own number, but if you don't know it, use 80%. So if 80% of the listings are going to sell, then we need to have 19 listings actually this year. Now, how many listing appointments do we need to go on? What's your conversion rate for listing appointments that you go on? You know, if it's 60% is pretty average, but it depends on your market, how long you've been in the business. Do you work with just referrals only? Do you do farming? For me, half of my business is referrals, half of it is farming. And with my farming leads, I'd say half of them I automatically get the listing. They just talk to one person, and the other half they're interviewing 3 or 4 agents. So some of those I do not get, and some of them I do. So average is, you know, you go on a listing appointment, and about 60% of those listings, appointments that you go on, you'll get a signed listing. So you're going to need about 32 listing appointments for the year in order to get 15 closed listings. So, you know, if you want to just keep it simple, just say you need to have about twice as many listing appointments as closed listings. You know, that's one easy way to think about it for the year. If you end up having, okay, I have 10 listings I need to sell, well, you need to go on about 20 listing appointments. Now, those appointments you want to break down per month, because all of our goals, we want to keep a sense of urgency wrapped around them. We want you to focus on the short-term goal. I don't want you to see 32 for the year, because then, you know, you get 0 this month, and next month you're like, I'll make it up. I'll make it up in the summer. I'll make it up later. And things keep getting pushed. So keep your goals monthly for appointments. So when we break it down, it's about 2 to 3 listing appointments per month. This is the one thing that you're going to focus on every single day. How can I get 2 to 3 listing appointments this month? What else can I do? Every single day, you're thinking about just this, 2 to 3 listing appointments this month. How can I get 2 to 3 listing appointments this month? This is your focus, focus. Okay, so let's do it for the buyer side. Same type of thing. We need 25 homes we want to sell total. 40% of them are going to be buyer deals closed. So that's 10 buyer deals we need to close. Now the numbers are kind of reversed here for the buyers. So 80% of signed buyer contracts will close. So that means once you have, in California, it's called a buyer representation exclusive agreement, or we call it a buyer broker agreement. Once you have that contract signed with a buyer, which you should all absolutely be having, that's a whole nother class, get that buyer broker agreement signed. About 80% of the people that you get to sign will close a deal with you. So, you know, we'll need to have a few more of these signed in order to close 10. Now, once you meet buyers and they're serious and you have a buyer consultation with them, about 60% of those that you meet that are serious, that maybe you even show a property to, will sign a buyer representation agreement, and then we'll end up closing and we'll get to 10. So again, it's about, you know, twice as many appointments that you need for the year as deals closed. So if you need to close 5 buyer deals this year, you need to have, you know, 10 solid buyers that you're working with. Make sense? I think we all get that. I mean, some of us might say you might need more. So if that's the case for this example, for the $200,000 net, we need 2 buyer appointments a month. So we need to meet 2 buyers that we have a serious consultation with, that are, you know, ready to buy. They're just deciding if they want to work with you. This is not somebody who, you know, is starting the buying process and they come to a home buyer seminar, or somebody you met off of TikTok or Facebook and it's a cold referral, and I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about people who are ready to buy, they're qualified, but they're just deciding are they going to work with you or not. Okay, so you need about 2 of those every month. Okay, now let's go to lead generation. What are you guys doing for lead generation? What works for you? Where do most of your leads come from? Are you tracking them? I'm going to stop screen share just for a second and would love for any kind of comments that you guys could write right now. What is the #1 source of leads for you in your business right now? What is that #1 source? Facebook ads, your sphere of influence, past clients. Okay, farming. Okay, so NAR does a survey every year and they ask buyers and sellers, where did you find your realtor? Why did you choose your realtor? All these stats are out there for us to know and find out. And currently, it's still the #1 way that buyers and sellers are choosing their realtor is it's someone they know or it's a referral of somebody or someone they used in the past. Those are the top 3 things. That makes up almost 80% of the leads that are out there. So 80% of buyers and sellers are finding their realtor because they know them or they're referred to them by someone. Maybe they were referred to them by another agent. Maybe they were referred to them by a best friend or a coworker. Maybe it's somebody they used in the past, right? So there's one commonality with how 80% of buyers and sellers are finding you as an agent. It's relationships, it's your database. These are people who know you, who like you, and who trust you. 80% of the leads that are out there are going to come from that source, from your database. So having a database is #1. There's a million other classes out there that are going to teach you other ways to build leads, which is great because there's still 20% other leads out there, right? Sometimes we get it from an open house or from some type of advertising through other social media sources. There's other ways to do it, right? To buy leads, all these other types of things that are out there. But 80% of the leads are coming from people that know you and like you. They're either working with you because they know you and trust you, or they're referring you somebody because they know you and like you. So it's as simple as that. So that's the only thing that I'm going to talk about today is building your database and keeping those relationships strong. So let's get back to my screen. Okay, relationships, right? It's all about relationships. There's two components to having a strong relationship. It's getting someone to first to like you, right? They have to know you. You have to find commonality with them. You need to build that relationship first, and then you have to build trust. So I think a lot of us are good at getting people to like us. As realtors, we're kind of outgoing people. Some of us, maybe you're better at getting people to trust you than to like you. So, each of us are a little different, but it doesn't matter. We need to have both. And I don't think any of us are naturally great at both. So for me, I feel more comfortable and confident building trust with people that I meet. Getting them to like me is harder. I have to really work at being social and engaging people and smiling and doing that. I'm very short. I'm very blunt. I get to the point. It's all about business. I have their best interests at heart. I truly care about people, but I'm not the best at talking and communicating and asking questions. So for me, the like part is something that I need to work on. So liking is the first part. It has to be first. Trust is second. Okay, don't jump the gun on this with your relationships. So first get them to like you, build commonality, and get that part done. Then building trust. So I have a bunch of ideas here for you for building trust. Hosting events, hosting a class like today. I'm giving a class to you guys. Hopefully you're going to trust me as being a great referral source or a great agent or manager. Trust is built when you're able to host events or teach classes. So all of you have the capability of hosting a home buyer seminar, hosting a class on improving your credit. All of these different types of things are possible ways for you to build trust with your relationships. Newsletter, to putting out blogs, any awards or recognition that you get, you need to post that. You need to get that out there. Make sure people are aware of that. One thing that I'm super passionate about, and that people have told me why they trust me and have chosen me as an agent, is because they see I'm an advocate for home ownership. I'm super involved with NAR, my California Association of Realtors. I'll go to Washington, D.C., I'll go to Sacramento, and I'll fight and lobby for home ownership and protecting home ownership. I understand what's on the ballot and what propositions are coming up, and I'll educate people on that, and I'll talk about it. I have relationships with my city council members. Those types of things, when people see that you have, they trust you, and it gives you that edge in beating out someone else for a listing or the buyer. And by the way, we're in the most competitive time ever in the history of being a realtor. There are more realtors now than there's ever been. And when you compare the percentage of transactions available to the amount of realtors, it's the smallest number ever. So you have to stand out, and you have to do something that makes you different than the average realtor. We're not home finders anymore. We can't be as simple as just putting a home on the MLS and selling it, or showing property and so on. It's about helping people to build wealth and understanding what that means. It's about being an advocate and fighting for home ownership. What are all those things that you're doing in your community with different charities and so on that are helping people to trust you and like you at a higher level than someone else? You have to really think about that this year. Of what can you do above and beyond other realtors to make you stand out? It will pay off. And one little secret is you can't just do things without telling people you're doing them. Okay, don't waste your time doing things without telling people. I mean, it's great, to do them, right? We all want to advocate for homeownership and keep our industry healthy, and that's a noble thing to do. But there's no shame in letting people know that you're doing that and putting that out there as well. Let people know that, because it will help your business. Put it in your newsletters, make videos, put them out there, make sure people understand and know you're doing it. I just redid our website for our office, and we have a separate page on advocacy, and we let people know what we're doing. And every time we go to Sacramento or DC, I post pictures of me and the agents that are in my office with, legislators like Adam Schiff or Maxine Waters, or different people that, we're meeting with that, would be recognizable figures and people would understand. So put that message out there. If you want an idea, you can go to our website, The Collective Realty, and just kind of check and see how we put stuff out there. You'll see on our site, we do all of these things. We have events that we have put on our website. We have seminars, we have videos, we have classes. It has all of our awards. It has all kinds of stuff. It has our advocacy page. It has a community page. All of this is there on our site, and it should be on all of your websites. And they should be things that are also shared through your newsletters and social media and conversations that you have with people. Okay. Your income is a direct reflection of the size and strength of your database. Really, right? It's as simple as that. Your income is a direct reflection of the size and strength of your database. How big is your database? That's number one. How many people are in there? My advice is you should have 300 people in your database up until you're getting at least 2 deals a month. Then you should add more, because we're talking about income is a direct reflection of the size and strength. So size, number one, you don't want to go too big. That was one mistake that I made when I became a realtor. I went to every fair and festival and had contacts and just collected people's names and added them to my database and sent them newsletters. And within, half a year, I had 2,500 people in my database. I had no idea who any of them were. Most of them had no idea who I was, and it did not work. When I reduced that down to about 300 people and had actual relationships with them, that strength completely changed. And the strength of that database really started to show in referrals and deals that we're able to close. So one question I ask is, when I look through people in my database, would this person, if this person was hosting an event or a birthday party, would they invite me? If they wouldn't invite me, I can work on that relationship more. It's not strong enough. So I think, we all have people in our database that we're adding and we're always strengthening them. There's always work to be done on your database. So let's talk about what I was just saying, 300 people in your database, right? I teach a whole class on this as well, and maybe I could do it here for the Alliance. But at the Collective Realty's YouTube page, it's posted there if you want to check it right now. But there's a class on your database, how to contact them, how to break it down, and how to stay in touch with everyone. It's a little over an hour class, but I'm going to go through the highlights of the class in about 2 minutes. So bear with me. So 300 people is the goal, and this should get you at least 2 deals a month. So quick breakdown, 300 people in your database. In most of the country, average is 50% homeowners, 50% renters in any community. In West Hollywood, where I live, it's 80% renters, 20% homeowners. But in Los Angeles, it's about 50-50. So, know what those numbers are for you, but, I'm just saying on average, half of the people in my database are renters, half of them are homeowners. So, on average as well, people are staying in their home for about 10 years. It used to be 7, right? But now it's 10, and it might even go up to 12 soon. But maybe COVID will change that, right? A lot of people are thinking about moving and getting into bigger homes with a yard in the suburbs and not being in the city, but I don't know. We'll see how that plays out at the end of the year. So people are staying in their homes average for 10 years. So out of 150, this is 150 homeowners, right? Because half of our database is homeowners. Out of 150 homeowners in our database, 10%, because they're living there for 10 years, 10% are going to sell each year. So that's 15 deals out of my 150. That's pretty amazing, just right there, out of those 300 people, of 15 deals. So I think a lot of us have 300 people in our database, but we're not getting those 15 deals. It's because you don't even realize they're moving. They have closer relationships to other realtors. You just weren't top of mind, and the relationship could have been stronger. So these are just stats. These are numbers. This is the real truth. I'm not, it's not theory or anything like that. You really, if you have 150 people in your database, there's 15 deals right in that database this year. If you are the #1 realtor on the top of their mind when they decide to buy or sell. So let's say this, half of those people move locally and half move out of state or out of the city. That's kind of how it is here in LA. So that gives you another half, another 7 people. Now we're already up to, 22 people, 22 deals from our database just from this. That's not even including referrals. A majority of your deals should be referrals from your database. You should never, just look at your database of who in my database is going to buy or sell. Think of it as a bigger picture. Who in my database can I get a referral from? Who can I build a relationship with? Do they know I'm looking for referrals? I know for me, for years, I wasn't asking for referrals, and people would say, oh, when I started to ask, they're like, oh, I wish I knew earlier. Last year my friend was buying. I just thought you were busy, or I didn't think you needed any more clients. Sometimes people think they're bothering you for that. So unless you're asking for these referrals, you're probably not going to get them. So you got to ask for help and say, hey, this is a competitive market I'm in. I could definitely use some help this year. If you know anyone buying or selling, let me know. I want to help them. I want to help your friends. It's okay to do that, and we should do that. We have to do that. Okay, so 300 solid relationships should get you at least 2 deals a month. How do you build those relationships? Quick strategy: you need to call them every quarter, right? Followed with a handwritten note. That is where you're going to get most of your leads. A monthly newsletter, amazing. That'll give you a little foundation. Hosting and inviting them to any events or education you're doing is also extremely important. But this is the main system, right? Giving them a call, or text some type of conversation every quarter, and then write a handwritten note, something in the email every month, and then another invite to a charity event you're doing or educational event or some type of event that they would be possibly interested in attending. So that's the strategy. I go into that way more detail in that other class that I was mentioning. So I'm gonna, let's see if I can get to my last screen share here on another section. Bear with me one second. Do you see that? Do you see this screen I'm sharing? Am I on screen sharing? No, I'm not. All right, here we go. Okay. So now we've gone through the whole financial model, all the numbers, you know, how much money you need to make, you need to, you know, how many dollars in volume you need to sell, how many deals you need to close, how many appointments you need, how to stay in touch with people, and so on. So after that, the last step is really writing these goals down and having some accountability system in place that's going to help you focus on them to the highest level every week. So this tool has been a lifesaver to me. I have a coach, I use it. I was just proposed to a couple weeks ago, and I have a wedding coming up next year, and this tool is going to be part of planning for the wedding to keep you on track week by week, month by month. So how does it work? Yearly. You want to write your yearly goals, right? Okay, so all those numbers we talked about, 25 deals for the year, 18 million in volume, 300 people in my database, blah, blah, blah. All of those different things that your yearly goals are. Breaking it down to the next month, this month. Okay, this month, those were your appointment goals. So we said 2 to 3 buyer appointments this month, 2 listing appointments this month. That's in your monthly goal. So what are your big rocks, your main goals for this next month? Once you have that, then what do we need to do this week to get there? So if we want to work on getting those 2 buyer deals this week, we said we wanted to call everyone in our database 3 or 4 times a year, once a quarter. So we need to start calling people and talking to people and reaching out to them. So one system I use is calling, 2 letters of the alphabet every week. So week 1, I'm going to call everyone whose last name starts with A and B. Week 2, everyone whose last name starts with C and D. And so on. If you do that and you call 2 letters of the alphabet every week, you're going to get through your whole database 4 times a year. It works out perfect. So it's a simple system without having to use a CRM. I'm not big on the tech side and all of that. I like things simple. Like I said, I'm very impatient, and I just want to get things done quick and as simple as possible. So for me, having the 2 letters and just writing it down on a piece of paper, it works perfectly. So doing that. What are other things? Okay, maybe I need to start. I wanted to host an event this month. I wanted to do a credit seminar. So maybe week 1, I need to plan my PowerPoints and find a lender that I could do. What else do you need to do? Whatever those things are that you need to get done for that week should be written down. Then at the end of that week, you're going to meet with your manager or another agent, and it could be an agent in your office. It could be an agent from the Alliance on a weekly call, 10, 15 minutes, where you both go over your goals for the week and you highlight all the ones that you did and you cross out the ones that you didn't do. And then the ones you didn't do, you push on to the next week and you write your new ones for the next week, and so on and so forth. And it's just a time for you to be self-aware of what you did, what you didn't do. A lot of us we're procrastinators in a sense, right? Everybody is, but that day before all your items are due, there's a sense of urgency, and that sense of urgency is a motivator. And that motivator is going to be what gets you to do things that you might not normally have done. So if you didn't call anyone in your database and it's Thursday afternoon and you're like, oh my goodness, I have to meet with my accountability partner tomorrow morning. When am I going to do this? You figure it out and you do it on Thursday and get it done. But at least you got it done. So having that sense of urgency built into your goals is a life changer. It's helped me so much. So knowing that every single week, Tuesday at 12:30, I talk to my coach. Trust me, that morning, the day before, I am working on getting things done that I didn't do. I come to the office even earlier on Tuesday because I know I have my coaching meeting and get, last minute things done that I didn't do. And it works. It just works because you have that sense of urgency. So the accountability section is really the key that's going to help you stay focused long term for the rest of that year. And it's really, to me, one of the secrets. The two secrets are having your vision board that you're actually attached to, because if you're really attached to that, you're going to figure out how to make that happen. Like, for example, I just mentioned I was getting married next year, and right, there's a cost to that wedding, and we want to do it in Maui and invite our family and pay for a lot of things, and there's a big cost to that. So I have no option but to figure out how I'm going to pay for that and make that money. That is an emotional attachment to a goal that it's going to happen. I'm going to figure that out. So even if you don't know at this moment how you're going to do that, over time, you're going to figure that out. You're going to talk to your manager. You're going to attend more classes like this. You're going to ask more questions. You're going to read more books. You're going to figure it out. There's nothing, like I said, in this business that you need to create and recreate on your own. Everything's out there for us. We just need to tap into it and stay focused. So I hope this was an informative class for you guys. I really enjoy teaching and giving back. And like I said, please reach out to me. My email is anthony@thecollectiverealty.com, and I'm on Twitter at Anthony Vulin and Instagram at Italian Croatian. Stay in touch with me as much as you'd like, and I'll be hopefully doing more classes with Ryan and Alliance, and hopefully we'll see you guys in Vegas so we can meet and exchange referrals and help each other's business and just build relationships. We're so lucky that we're in a business that our business is all about building relationships. It's not about sitting in front of a computer crunching numbers all day. It's about the more people we could know and help and enjoy and experience, the better it's going to help us and what our goals are. So I appreciate this. And if there's any final questions, please ask. And Ryan, if there's anything else you want to say, chime in. If anyone has questions.
Yeah, Anthony, we have one question out there, I believe, and certainly if folks have more questions, use the Q&A feature or just type them in the chat. Doris, our friend from Amsterdam, it's a little off topic, but I think it's a valid question. She'd like your insight on ways to potentially merge careers in interior design and interior architecture into real estate development. And she understands that it's more of a commercial question, but if you have any input, tips, or suggestions, she would love to hear.
So I think it's going to be a lot about partnering with the right people. So you have a skill that someone else doesn't have that you want to learn and get into. So I would recommend finding a developer who appreciates your skill, because I would if I was doing that, and letting them know, hey, I want to learn from you. I want to do this. This is what I'm going to be able to bring to you with my background, and partner with someone. Find that right partnership and do it. Don't think that you're going to do this all on your own, because it's very unlikely that that'll happen. But find somebody to partner with who's already done it, who's going to value you. I think that's for any of us trying to change our business and do it. Like, you're not in this alone. We can all help each other and work together. There's plenty of business and money for all of us to do that. Partner with other people, get those alliances going.
Thank you. And my question, so I can turn my camera on, I guess. A lot of what you were discussing, aside from the numbers, had to do with attitude, and I'm a firm believer that attitude is a huge factor of success. Can you just talk about the power of possible and really changing your perspective to motivate you to get to the goals that you want?
Yeah, it's not easy, right? Especially in the environment that we're in. With COVID, and so many of my friends and family are just depressed and at home, and life is not normal. I know every city's different, but in LA, everything's shut. Like, you can't do anything. You can't even, go into a hair salon and get a haircut. Like, everything is shut. Outside dining is shut. Everything is shut still, and it's going to be for a while, and it's been for a year now almost. So life is different, and our mental state has all gone through a big shock. So what my advice is again, find those people who are wanting, similar things with you, and maybe who are in a better positive state than you are. Attending things like this and being around agents is a great way to do that, because you see other agents and what they're doing. I just created a mastermind in my office for a small group of people. I think maybe a group of like 6 would be awesome. Maybe we could do something like this with the Alliance, where it's just a time to share amongst agents frustrations and successes and things that you're going through, and just knowing that you're not alone, and realizing that, okay, everyone's kind of in the same situation that I'm in, or have dealt with it, and now they've gotten through it. I can get through it because I know this person has gotten through it. It'll help motivate you and get you through that. So you need to have the right, tribe around you, the right people who you can talk to and will help motivate you and do that. I mean, obviously, physical activity is extremely important too. Going for a hike. It's something that's one of my goals now, is like every weekend I need to go for a hike with a different friend and reconnect, because I just didn't connect last year with them. I've lost a lot of close relationships. So I want to reconnect. I'm going to go out, and I've been doing that the last couple of weeks, and just, chat with them and hang out and just build those relationships, in a safe environment. But I think it's all about, also creating that why. What is it that's really going to drive you this year? And if it's something that emotionally attracts you to that, you're going to figure your way out of it. But the first step is mentally, like, we got to all, it's the beginning of the year. So I think it's an opportunity we should take, because everyone's like, oh, new year, new goals. That's why we're doing this business planning class, because everyone's a little bit more motivated than they were in maybe November or December. And that's okay. It's a reset. It's the beginning of the year. It's a chance for us to start fresh. So take care of your health, take care of your physical activity, and get around people, because we've had that just missing for so long. We haven't had that warmth and that relationship that we're used to, that touch that we need. There's so many studies that show, like, you need to be touched in order to have your immune system healthy and for your mind to be clear. So we need to start reconnecting with people.
Bravo, very well said. Appreciate it. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions in here. A couple folks have asked for an appropriate mailing address for you, so if you want to drop that in the chat.
Are you going to send me flowers? I love that.
I want to thank you so much for your time today, Anthony. I think it was a very productive session. There was a lot of great content, some wonderful tips. Hopefully, folks find that useful. Your contact information I did repost in there. If folks have questions for you, they're welcome to reach out to you, I'm assuming?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you need a few minutes to like work out your numbers, I'm happy to do that. I'm just posting my address and email on there again. Anthony at the Collective Realty, super easy. But yeah, reach out to me. I'm happy to spend a few minutes and just make sure you get those numbers down. Because I know just seeing it on there, for some people, it could be a little confusing. So.
And for those of us on Facebook, that's Anthony at thecollectiverealty.com. Collective, or The Collective Realty, is all one word. So feel free to reach out to Anthony if you have further questions. If you want to get a copy of any of the forms that you saw, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to share that with you, or go into deep dives if you schedule that as a one-off. Thank you all for joining us. Appreciate your time, and we look forward to being with you for the next professional development session when that's planned and announced. Take care, folks.
Cool. Bye, guys.